Welcome to Wilder Wolves, Hall of Fame Mode Fandom. My name is Wilder Adams, and today I got my good friend from the Daily Wolves, my good friend Evan. Evan, how is life, my good friend?
Life's good. Never can complain. When the Minnesota Timberwolves are playing, they're back on. It's finally here. I can't believe it. And man, it's a good time for sports fans because this time of year, I'm always like, we got NFL, we got baseball playoffs going. The Minnesota Wild are started. We got hockey. And now we have basketball, man. This is like my favorite time of the year because you can really turn on the TV and everything's on.
My most toxic trait is I have to rank everything in life. Like I just have to rank anything. Like I ranked top 10 snacks yesterday. The other week I ranked top 12 months and number 1 was October
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, it's like all the sports are happening right now and then it's just fall, the weather's perfect, the weekends are good. There's not like the heaviness of Christmas and like the Thanksgiving preparation yet. You can just kind of enjoy life, have pumpkin bread, watch football, manifest your basketball team. What do you think about my October number 1 power ranking take?
Yeah, no, there's definitely power rankings I got in there. I'm still gonna have the NBA as number one in the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I'm just glad, man. I'm glad to be back, and I can't wait to talk some hoops. It feels like this is like my preseason back into the podcast game. So everyone gets to grow with me here today and hear my preseason podcast mode.
And Evan's been killing it because I saw him the other day at Wolves Fest when he was, part of that community, like with his podcast equipment and his like merchandise and everything, all the incredible stuff the Daily Wolves does. And yeah, so before we get started on the show, I just also want to say thank you all so much for 1,000 subscribers. I'm still digesting how quickly the account has grown for the past few days, but it's been an absolute honor that we have such a growing community, but most importantly, we have a great community that we're building here with Wilder Wolves. Everybody who's clicked subscribe over the past few months, you guys, I'm so greatly appreciative. And you can't make promises too often in life, but I will make a promise that this account will continue evolving. This account will continue improving. And this platform is going to build a really strong Timberwolves oriented community for the fans all the time, Hall of Fame mode fandom. So thank you all so much. I had to break the fourth wall for that. But yeah, Evan. So thinking about the Timberwolves right now. So this isn't necessarily going to be like a game recap of the Indiana Pacers game. This is meant to be a little more evergreen in a way, but in a way where we're talking about what we've seen so far from the Indiana Pacers game and just overall in preseason. And the first thing I want to start out with, you know, contradicting myself slightly, but not really. We did see in that Indiana game, we saw the Nas Randle Rudy pairing briefly in the first quarter without Jaden McDaniels. Congratulations to
Mm-hmm.
Jaden and his second child. What did you think of that initial pairing in that starting lineup with those three?
Yeah, I thought it looked solid. I think Nas Reed looks incredible. Like that's the first thing I'm gonna say. I thought both games in the preseason so far, Nas Reed has been a big bright spot for the Timberwolves. Obviously, dealing with what he dealt with over the last few months here with his sister is just horrible. We wish that on no person. And I was a little concerned just to coming into the year what he's going to exactly look like. Will that affect him on the court? And it doesn't seem to at all. He looks like he's the same old Nas Reed, plays with all that joy, but he looks slimmed down a little bit more to me. Which over the years we've seen Nas's body transformation, but it looks like he's even in better shape this year when he came in. You can tell he's been working hard, and his aggression level was so high in the first two games. Both games playing, around that 15, 17-minute mark or so, and getting about 10 points each game. I thought he just looked absolutely incredible. Playing with, alongside the other bigs and with those guys, I think you're just looking if it felt really clunky. And, I didn't really feel that way. I felt like in the last game, Indiana was scoring kind of at will to an extent. So that was a little concerning, but a lot of the shots Indiana was taking, they were just on fire, right? And they were shooting threes, lights out, scoring it. Think they scored like 37 points in the first quarter, something like that. Minnesota obviously had issues with that going back to last year. And I think what I do see is, maybe Rudy Gobert could be a little bit more aggressive on the defensive end, but it is preseason. Julius Randle definitely could be better as well on the defensive end, but I thought Nas was the bright spot there, and then the other guys kind of looked like, it's preseason, it's okay. I don't know what your take is on that.
Yeah, I would say my takeaway on preseason is that you can only take away good. And you know what? Like if anything looks terrible, if it's nice or it's just preseason. So you know what? That's the accountability we have on this show. But yeah, I do love that you started with the positive with those three because the Nas Reed aspect has been a big positive, like you mentioned.
Hmm.
He's nimble and he's nailing shots from three in the preseason. He's just moving well, like chasing screens, which is hard to do at that size. I think
Uh-huh.
it's been a massive positive overall with the Nas Reed situation. And yeah, I think having him be a small forward against Indiana, that was bold. Of course, I mean, it's preseason. You can try things out. But Indiana, with how fast they play, how physical they play, I think you touched on it a little bit with Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert struggled. He had a terrible half. He was just
Yeah.
terrible. He was not physical. He had 5 turnovers in the game. I mean, they're just bumbling everything, taking it away from him like a piece of candy from a baby. I mean, it just wasn't the prettiest Rudy half, but I do think Nasri was a positive. Randall played pretty good, I thought.
Hmm.
But I think the thing with that game was it's a good test because it's a tough matchup in a lot of ways when you're playing a team like Indiana and they're so fast, they're so physical, they're so handsy, and you get this bigger lineup, which was naturally going to be a little slower. And I think that was a bad matchup, that particular game for that lineup. But I love that, Chris Finch is getting a little, creative with those rotations. So I thought it was an interesting look for sure.
I think, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with on the Rudy take. I feel like the reason I didn't slander Rudy too much and is because it's the preseason. I think
Exactly.
the vibe I
Exactly.
was yeah, the vibe I was getting from Rudy and from Randall is the same vibe in a way, which
Mhm.
was like, this is preseason
Mhm.
and I can kind of like I'm here to try some stuff to get my workout in. Let's get some sets, but kind of they're not fully there, and I can just tell. I don't think Gobert, with his pride, lets that happen when they face the Pacers. The next time you see them is going to be actually at the home opener in Minnesota at the Target Center, October 26th this year. And I certainly don't think Rudy Gobert is going to play that bad of a game on the defensive end. And he's going to show you why he's a solid and Hall of Fame type of defensive player. I really truly believe Rudy Gobert has dedicated a lot this offseason to getting his body healthy. He skipped going to play international basketball to try to get back to the way he was when he won Defensive Player of the Year with Minnesota. So I really do think Rudy Gobert is going to come out and look a lot different. Randall's aggression wasn't always there too in this game. And the Pacers, man, props to them. Like you said, they're scrappy, they work hard, they're well coached even without Tyrese Halliburton. Andrew Nemhard's an absolute beast. He's a dog. Like I'm happy for that man to get an opportunity because he's just fun to watch. But yeah, I think the Wolves they'll be fine. And if Jaden McDaniels was there last night, maybe the defense is a little bit better because they have another point of attack defender. I don't know. That's probably not changing everything, but I do think Jaden would have been really nice, and it probably wouldn't have been as easy for Indiana to score last night. But yeah, man, what else you got for me?
Yeah, you just talked about it. Like, I mean, Rudy Gobert and Randall, they're in their 30s with kids. I don't expect them to give it their all in preseason. And there's a lot of truth to that. I did find it just a little bit like the way Indiana, with how handsy they are, 5 turnovers in the first half for a center is
Mhm,
pretty brutal.
mhm,
And I think that's the stat that stood out to me by far the most. So that part was concerning a little bit. But like you mentioned, I mean, let's come away with the positive more often than not. And then negatives we can digest, but it's not nearly as serious as the regular season. And Indiana, they just couldn't miss, like you said. I mean, they started the game 6 for 7 from three, I believe. And sometimes when a team's shooting like that, you have to let them ride the wave,
mhm,
especially Indiana. They're just going
mhm,
to make shots. And that team, they're probably making the playoffs without Halliburton, with how deep, how strong their culture is. how well coached they are. It's
Mhm.
just, it's a good basketball team as well. And I would love to transition from that look to talking about Anthony Edwards, because this was our first look at Anthony Edwards in particular. And I don't know about you, Evan. I thought seeing him in shape like that was really fantastic to see. Of course, Ant's had a couple occasions in the past when he comes in the season and he seems a little out of shape. Why
Yep.
isn't he going for it in the paint? Why isn't he dunking on somebody? And he didn't dunk on anybody today, unless my memory just, blurred out. But he looked physically fantastic, I thought. What did you think?
Um, so when you say almost dunked on a guy, maybe the first thing I'll have to put out the clip later today. For those who are watching this, if you want to see the clip, I'll put it on my X later today, or I'll put it on our Instagram or something. So go check it out. But you got to see it. I'll send it to you once I put it out. But Anthony Edwards has this incredible play in the game where he almost threw down a dunk. Like it looked like he was going for a dunk or an insane layup finish. He gets
Yeah.
fouled on the play. And I just like that play alone is so explosive and why he's so special. He splits, he gets the ball, splits two defenders, goes in between them, and then goes to the hoop. And it's like those are the plays where I can't believe him. Like he's playing for my team. And again, I'm not going to go into it too much because I want people to see the clip because it speaks for itself. But it's just amazing, and there's not many guys in the NBA who can do that kind of thing. Um, Speaking of the shape, I've never seen Anthony Edwards in this good of shape since he's been in a Minnesota Timberwolves uniform. The best shape I saw him in previously was when he came back from Team USA, but not like this. He looks slimmed down. His body type, he already looks like Michael Jordan, but he's looking even more like Michael Jordan when he stands now. And he's like got that thin body frame now, just like Michael Jordan with the armband, and he puts his hands on his side. I can't like it's the parallels are crazy, but no, he looks like he's the way he's even running, it's almost like he's levitating now. He looks so athletic. It's weird when a guy jogs that he looks that athletic, and that's how he looks to me now. He looked great. He looks explosive. He looks ready to go. His speed looks highly increased.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that, but he just looks way, way faster on any breakaway, anything. He's just it's amazing to see how good a shape he's in. He's talked about how he's down to 3.5% body fat. He says he doesn't think he's around there. He's still got some chub. So, but he's down, and his playmaking last night was great as well. I thought his playmaking looked solid again. It's kind of what it was last year, but still, those are important steps to take, especially when he's going to get double teamed. And I thought he started off the game with that shot, that step back mid range, and that's what he's claimed he's worked. He's worked on all offseason. That's what he wants to bring to the table this year. He wants to be unguardable. He wants, when he gets double teamed or when things get tough in the playoffs, he wants to be able to have that back to the basket mid range game, that unstoppable game that all these Shays have, these Lucas have, these Kyrie Irvings have, these guys. And so what you're seeing is, I think, a guy who's going to come into the league and be very, very, very special. And I thought he just looked. I mean, he had 17 points last night in 19 minutes. He's on pace for a big game if that's a full game on a regular night.
He just has a different energy to him this year, that he's always had this very competitive, kind of old school aura to him with the way he approaches the game. There's some stuff like, does he show up on a Tuesday night against Charlotte? And I think that's a fair question. But he did walk into a preseason game and shoot 15 shots at the half. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's telling you how seriously he took that game, how aggressive he was that game. And like you talked about, like he was talking about adding a mid range, and he starts right away that game, like bobbles the
First
ball a
shot.
little bit, and he takes a little step back midi and drains it. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
shot that he was definitely missing last season. And I do remember that play you're talking about, by the way, where he split the double. Now that you talked about it, even that play, there's just like an extra little gear with the way he executed that.
Yep.
That just a next level above what he was already. And Anthony Edwards a year ago was voted the best athlete in the NBA. And somehow he's quicker and more twitchy. And whew, that was incredible. And even there was this one play, I don't even remember when. It was probably early second quarter.
Mm,
He got out in transition. And I don't even remember what happened the rest of that play. I just remember he got the hell out, open space, and my first thought was he did not move like that last year.
exactly.
He did not. How intentional he was in transition, but also he just literally looks like he has another gear. And it's like the first set of evidence that Anthony Edwards really worked on what he said he was going to work on. The attention to detail, taking a preseason game seriously, but also just pushing it down the court, playing faster, but also just literally being faster. That felt like a very encouraging step for everything you can expect. Like he didn't shoot great. It felt like his legs weren't fully under him with some of his shots, but
Mhm, mhm.
you expect that from preseason. The intention is what mattered to me. And I think the intention he passed with flying colors.
Yeah, I agree. And the transition 100%. He had an incredible finish at the rim too.
Mhm.
At one point where he kind of switched hands, and it's just like those are the plays where it's just not many players are doing that at that high of a clip. And so it's just a very special talent. And like you said, it's preseason. He was missing certain threes. I don't think he's missing once the season kind of gets going here.
Mhm.
They were just short. A lot of them were just hitting the front of the rim. And I think, yeah, he's just a little tired. And they're not quite there, but he'll get it. I mean, it's Anthony Edwards. And I love how he talked about, um, over the last couple weeks here about kind of being aggressive and going for not taking these nights off anymore, and instead of deferring to guys, which he did in the past, he's going to go out and he's going to score. He wants to try to lead the league in scoring and also go for an MVP. He's talked about that now. That's something I haven't heard him really talk about. I've heard him mention maybe MVP one day, but not like this, not with that face. And not the, I've passed to my teammates usually I pass to my teammates to try to get them, but I'm just going to get going. I'm going to continue to score. I'm going to go all night. I'm going to make sure that I run it up. And that's the aggression that I saw last night. Was he was kind of a little bit different, but I would say overall Anthony Edwards was extremely aggressive. If you do that, it's really going to open up everything for the team. So I'm excited to see what he does. And then once we get into the regular season, I think what I really need to see from Anthony Edwards is, can you be consistent on the defensive end, which he says he wants to. He wants to make the defensive team this year.
Mhm.
Um, and I want to see him on that end. I know what he can do on the offensive end, but I want to see what Anthony Edwards can do on the defense.
We've seen historically year 6 is such a critical year for a young superstar
Mhm.
because it's the transition of I'm not just a young great player, I'm an established great player.
Yep.
That's when Shea took his MVP type leap when the Thunder became the 1 seed. That's when Luka Doncic made the finals. I think Tatum might have made the finals in his 6th year, and you can go up and down the list. Usually year 6 is when you're officially established. You're not just a great young player. The
Mhm.
expectation is you should be a great player. And I think that the signs that we saw this one game, less about the result and more about the effort, the shape he looked to be in, and he had a couple really impressive reads as well. He had that like high pick and roll where he kind of faded, kind of a jump bounce pass to Rudy Gobert. He did not make that pass last year, and he had a really good drive passing it to Naz Reid in the corner. Those type of things, like Ant doesn't need to average 8 assists this year, but he does need to have a better intuition on how to balance his scoring playmaking to elevate others. And
Mhm.
I thought he showed really good signs of that, even though I will say this, I still need to see the pass accuracy improve from him
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's not a very accurate passer. And people wonder why, like a lot of people miss threes when he's passing it to them. When you're not passing it to the shooting pocket, they're just so much less likely to make that shot. Like I remember this one play, he kind of faded. He like passed to Rob Dillingham, and Dillingham missed the three bad, but Dillingham caught it on his ankles pretty much. And if you're throwing it to a player's ankles, they're not going to make the shot. It's so hard to like catch and shoot in NBA speed and pull it up right there and efficiently do it. So I do want to see that part of his game get better. And we've seen him like throw passes high pretty consistently in the regular season. So if I'm going to like nitpick on Ant, I'm going to nitpick him there. But other than that, there's really very little you can say about, game 2 of preseason with how he looked. He looked great.
Yeah, the last thing I want to add before we move on here is just it was pointed out in the broadcast, I think by Jim Pete. I thought it's really important to note if you're a Timberwolves fan that might not have caught that on the broadcast or might not have been able to make it to the game, or just you're coming here for the recap of the preseason because you don't really want to watch the preseason, but that's okay. That's why we got your back here. I think what Jim Pete pointed out is Anthony Edwards all offseason, they've been in the gym. He's been in the gym with Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle, and the three of them have been working individually, or I mean, sorry, not individually, but just together, those three running the floor, and they do it every day, and they're practicing chemistry together, lob threats together, the passing together to get those three kind of all on the same page, which last year it just wasn't the case. We've seen it in the past where Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert aren't always on the same page. And of course, then with the trade going down with Julius Randle right before training camp, and Julius didn't really learn how to play together till later in the year. So they put an emphasis, the three of them, on making sure they get together and practicing every day, running the floor, getting together, running pick and rolls together with Anthony Edwards. And I think that is something that might be key going down the road.
And that's just another set of evidence that this Timberwolves team has just completely clicked as an organization. When you have a superstar that locked in, that one says a lot about Anthony Edwards because he's clearly fully there, fully intentional on being the face of the franchise, being that leader. But the fact that players have been staying throughout the summer, really trying to just,
Yep.
tighten up those little screws when they can instead of vacationing all the time, which I'm sure you remember this when the team sucked, nobody was here till September. But now your best players are here throughout the summer and they're working, to the every little detail. And that just, it says so much about Ant and his leadership and the pride he has for this organization and this fan base. But it's, the organization's different now. Like this is high level organization standards that the Timberwolves are delivering recently.
Yeah, no, 100%. And they've been to the West Finals 2 years in a row. And you have a superstar with Anthony Edwards, and when you have a guy like that, it's easy for me to cover him, right? Yeah, like I've covered the team when it's bad. I'm covering it now. It's easy to cover it. When you're a teammate of a guy like that, you see how special he is, and they don't come around often. This is the type of architect of the Kevin Durant's, the Steph Curry's, the LeBron James's, the really good players, right? And they only come around every so often. When you have one of these guys on your team, one of these 3 or 4 players, it don't matter what team you're on. You believe you can win if you're his teammate.
Perfectly said. There's at a time only 3 to 5 real guys in the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels like he's ready to be one of those guys. And
Yep.
let's transition to the point guard position a little bit, because
Let's
I
do
would
it.
say if there was one part of the game where I was actually like kind of, cringing a little bit in concern, it would be from what I saw from the point guards from Mike Conley and Rob Dillingham in particular. I want to start this with Rob Dillingham because I think he's been, more hot on Twitter recently than Mike Conley. He didn't have a good game. He didn't, in my opinion, he looked a little disengaged at times, passive as a scorer, and some of the
Mm-hmm.
things that come with Rob Dillingham, he's always going to be small in defense. That just, I'm not even going to like complain about that. That's always going to be true. So that's not fair to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to hear what you thought about the Rob Dillingham part before we talk about the more macro point guard position.
I feel like I'm a little nervous about Rob Dillingham because our job, I always say my job is what I try to give fans is like authentic takes, not always sugarcoat things, say it how it is kind of thing. And I've been a little delicate with the Rob Dillingham situation because I don't know exactly what it is. And I know it's coming, where it's brewing, where it's going to rub a lot of fans the wrong way. But I'm I'm very, very concerned about Rob Dillingham. And I had been posting things about Baron J and TJ on my ex, and people are commenting and being like, "You forgot Rob Dillingham." And what I'll say is, I didn't forget Rob Dillingham. I purposely didn't put Rob Dillingham in my sentence. Let's put it that way. I just want to let fans know, like, there's a lot of things about Rob that, I hear even in the back end, you can take that for what it is, that are very concerning about Rob. But I also hear a lot of fantastic, amazing things that, this kid works really hard. He comes in, he wants it. But it's very concerning when Rob comes out last night. He has 22 minutes in the game, and he's 4 assists, 4 turnovers, washing it out. Only has 3 points in the first game. He had 9 assists, which was awesome. People see that in the first game, but he has 4 turnovers, and that's been the thing that Rob Dillingham has had an issue with since being in Minnesota. Is he can't keep his turnovers down. He would probably be like, if he was playing normal starter minutes, Rob Dillingham would lead the entire Timberwolves team in turnovers. That is the pace he's playing on. And that's not what like, if you're playing for Chris Finch, you cannot have that. You cannot come in and turn the ball over, especially as the point guard at that high of a rate, and expect to play. On top of that, he's a liability in the defensive end, and it continues to happen. I will say this, he does put effort on that end, which I do really enjoy. And I think that's all you can really ask of him for now when he's a young player. But if you can't play defense and you're getting picked on, and then you go out and you're turning the ball over, those are the 2 things that is very, very concerning. Again, I will say, for Rob Dillingham. And then you're looking for other things. Will the offense outweigh those deficiencies? Is the offense so great in his creation that it doesn't matter? And right now, I would say he's not consistent. And so that's also the issue. If he was doing it on a consistent basis and he's going out there and he's getting you 15 and 7, 15 and 8 somehow, I mean, yeah, you're still going to play him. You're still going to live with those deficiencies. And right now he's not consistent. His confidence isn't there. That's in my notes from the other day. I look at him and I can see it through the TV screen. The lack of confidence, the thinking I think he's like thinking 3 things at the same time. And he just the game looks too fast for Rob. And I think it's scary. But you do see the flashes where you're like, holy crap, this kid is so talented. He is so special. And you see that it is like, it could be right there. And if he could develop into something, that is exactly what the Timberwolves would need, a player like him. But when Bones Highland looks great in both the first 2 preseason games, it's a little concerning. I will say on the Mike Conley front, Mike looked sort of what we saw last year, which was a guy that just looks old, and he didn't do anything wrong, but it just looks like, kind of the same as last year, which that's fine. I don't expect anything more of Mike Conley. I still think Mike's a fantastic piece. I still think Mike Conley is going to be the starting point guard of the Minnesota Timberwolves on night 1. But mostly I came to watch Rob play last night and see kind of what we had with Bones Highland. And yeah, it's concerning. That's what I'll say. It's concerning.
My favorite thing you said in your very accurate monologue is that he's thinking 3 things at once. He's thinking the game. He's not feeling the game.
Exactly.
And there's a big difference when you're thinking and feeling the game. Because Trae Young, for example, the best small playmaker in the league right now, you can watch him actively feel the game. There's no second guessing himself. He has space. I'm going to shoot it. I have a pick and roll. I have space between the big and the dragging defender. I'm throwing a floater.
Mm-hmm.
I see a little crevice opening for my big man, alley-oop. I see somebody in the corner. Boom, they're getting the ball right away. There's no thinking the game. He's just feeling it. He understands the game. Rob Dillingham looks like he's having an identity crisis right now. Because obviously we know how I think he's a super gifted player. Like, I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
Offensively, he has top 0.1 percentile hand-eye coordination, lightning quick. He's a very natural shot maker. He's not making jumpers in the game, but when I watch him pre-game, he won't miss for minutes. He's a genuinely very good shooter, and if he wants to pass, he can really pass. He gets 9 assists in game 1.
Yep.
but you can just tell Chris Finch has been very deliberate about saying that he wants to be like a passing point guard who gets to the heart of the defense and kind of everything else opens up. And when I watch Rob, you can tell he's kind of thinking like, okay, I need to get here. I need to get to the rim, get to the heart of the defense, play fast. Even game one, like he had this one layup where he has a layup right there. And instead of doing a layup, he tries to skip it and hit the net, turnover. He's
Yep.
We saw Rob Dillingham last preseason, very confident. Did he know what he was doing yet? No. He was just being Rob Dillingham, getting buckets, 21 points, I believe, in that first preseason game against the Lakers. That Rob Dillingham never went away. But the Rob Dillingham that did go away is the Dillingham confident in his talent. He's on the court actively not knowing what decision to make every time something happens. And as a small point guard, like you said, who doesn't defend anything because he's physically not capable right now, not having that intuition, that impact makes you a massive negative player. And there's one part of me that's like, he is that gifted. I do think once if and when it clicks and the game just, wait, if I score, I'm intentional about it. If I play make, I'm intentional about it. And I'll just take what the defense gets me. If and when that switch clicks, that is a very good player. It's just a matter of if that, switch flips. So it's tough. This might be one of those like growing pains, like the muscle breaks down before it gets stronger because it's like a point guard, like quarterback in the NFL. That sometimes happens. But it is concerning, not because of the struggles necessarily, but it's the body language while he's struggling. And then you also talked about hearing some things. John Kay, literally on a show a couple weeks ago, said that he heard whispers of him being a little bit disgruntled to an extent last year. So clearly he's feeling the pressure of what's going on right now. And that's what really scares me on top of what we're seeing.
Yeah, he cares a lot. He cares a lot about playing. He wants to be out there so bad. And you can say that about a lot of players, but they don't always let it affect them to the way that it affected Rob Dillingham. Like Josh Minot was another guy who played with the Timberwolves that wanted to play so bad, and it affected his whole game by not playing, and his attitude. And even Bones Highland has chimed in over the last week or so here, talking about how he's had to help Rob when he got here. That was something he noticed about Rob, and letting him know that his first, year and a half, he didn't play. He didn't start. And so it kind of got Bones down and, didn't play as much. And so letting Rob know that it's okay, you can do this, just stay ready and get him going, even though he knows he wants to go out there and be a hooper. I think that's something that he's really learning, and not every player transitions and has the easiest time with that. These are all talented players, right? They were the best in their schools. They were the best everywhere they went. Rob Dillingham went to Kentucky, and everyone knows how premier Kentucky is in the basketball organization. And so Rob's used to he was like an AAU legend, right? He's this sensation on the internet, and everywhere he's went, he's been this sensation. And so to come to the NBA and kind of have this wake up moment of, these guys are huge, they're all fast, everyone's athletic, and wait a minute, they want me to play defense? I can't just go onto a blacktop and go crazy and shoot insane shots. No, you got to play defense in this league. And if you don't, you're going to stick out. And if you turn the ball over, you're going to stick out. And when you drive in the paint, there's going to be a 7-foot player there now who's super athletic that can move. They're all there, and they have point of attack defenders. So he's learning in hyper speed. And I think he just is, it's just so much. I think he wants so much at the same time. Instead of focusing on something and slowly growing, he's thinking so many things. And I think Jim Pete might have said that on the broadcast the other day as well, that he lives too much off of the last play. And whether that's him making a shot or him turning it over, his body language, he immediately reacts and he lives off that. And so far, like you said, when there's been mistakes, he's living off the bad ones and bad body language going down. There was a point, I wrote it down in my notes too, I want to point this out. He checks in the Indiana game for the first time. He misses a 3-pointer. His shot looked a little goofy. Then he doesn't get back on defense. Then he fouls the guy afterwards. Then after they score the free throws, they inbound at Indiana, and immediately, or no, then Minnesota gets the ball back, and then he turns it over like right away. That was in 10 seconds that he gave Indiana 4 points, basically. And that right there is that's that's insane. That's a problem. And so I just wanted to point that out. I really think Rob has something so special that's something you can't teach a player. Is it a gift physically that is just so special? But there's been a lot of players that Minnesota's drafted over the years where they are special, like a Derek Williams back in the day, where athletically they're very, very special players, but they just never reach it. I'm very concerned over Rob. By no means do I think Rob Dillingham is even close to a bust, because I've watched enough basketball where I can tell if a player is like a bust. Not even like that. And I don't even want that in the category. He's an NBA player, firmly stamped in the ground. He belongs in the NBA and he will play for a while. But whether or not he can be a starter in this league, this is concerning.
I'm going to say something that's going to get some people mad.
Uh-huh.
But what you talked about, the not on the court stuff, but how he's responding to the adversity, it's why he probably doesn't deserve to play.
Mm,
And
mm,
people would get mad at that. And I want Rob Dillingham to play. If I had it anyway, Rob Dillingham figures it out and he's the starting point guard right now. But
mhm.
the Minnesota Timberwolves are a contending basketball team. Chris Finch on this roster, that's already young in some ways, you need to be a calming presence at the point guard position. Rob Dillingham is everything but a calming presence right now. And there's a maturity thing that he's a young player and I understand playing through it. I think he should probably play through it because of the politics, not because of what he actually brings on an NBA court. If his name was Wilder Adams, he should be on the bench. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think Dillingham will need a wake-up call before the season starts, because what he's doing right now, and it's hard when I know some basketball players, dude, who are not NBA players. They're borderline G League players, and their heads are really big. They are. So, like, I totally get it when you're a top draft pick and you play for AAU, you're an AAU legend, you go to Kanye's school, you're a star, and he's a star, and he has the aura, the it factor, all of the stuff to
Mhm,
being a star.
mhm.
But the next step for Rob Dillingham to really capitalize on what I believe is very, very high level talent, he needs to ground his emotions. He needs to be a steady presence. That's what Chris Finch wants.
Yep.
They want a steady presence at point guard, and the more he doesn't get back on defense because he's not happy that a shot didn't go in, the less Chris Finch is going to want to play him. And I promise Chris Finch does not care what draft pick he was. He does not care.
Mm.
He wants to win basketball games. So I think if Rob figures it out, it's much more internally than externally. And if he can just let go, sometimes in life, it's all about letting go. If you can just let go, let the game come to you, stay persistent, I promise your product on the court is going to be better and you're going to play better. So that's the thing that scared me the most. Like you said, the body language isn't there. And this isn't the Washington Wizards. This isn't the Charlotte Hornets. We don't tolerate that because this is a winning basketball team. So Rob's got to get in line if he really wants to be a future starting point guard. We're not doing they're not giving me a chance. I don't, what's going on? They have something against me. Like, I don't want to hear that. I'm not saying that's what he's saying. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but that's an energy that a team that's trying to win should not tolerate, and he should understand that.
Yeah, and like you said, that energy, that's the energy that I feel with Rob through the screen. I don't know what's going on in the back side of that, but that's just what I feel. And he, there shouldn't be this enormous pressure on Rob Dillingham when you're coming off the bench right now. This is a good time for a young player to be like, "Hey, I'm coming off the bench. I don't need to be quite up here on the starter level yet. I can come in,
Mhm.
and that's okay. Come in, get yours with the guys. Go score your 12, 15 points. Do what you're good at. Be explosive. Maybe only get 4 assists or 3 assists." I think he's overly trying to assist right now, if that makes sense. He looks like he's trying
100%.
yeah, like he's trying so hard to get guys, and that's not his game. His game is a 15, 5, and 4, like, you know what I mean? 15 and 5. That's like Rob's game. Just sweet 15 and 5. And I think he just needs to get back to that. And maybe that could be battles in the back end with the coaching staff too, of we want you to
Yeah.
be this playmaker. We don't know. So all those things are a little bit of an issue. And it does not help a guy's opportunity when you have him doing what he's doing right now. And then you have Mike Conley, this beloved veteran who's like an angel in every coach, every player, everybody's eyes, and he's over here. It almost makes it like we're like for the coaching staff where they're like, man, we were going to put Mike down here and hopefully get you here. But now it's like, but we love Mike so much. And then when you're doing these things, it's like, nope, Mike, 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 Mike. And you're going like this. And right now, Mike is for sure, like he's going to be starting. Mike Conley is going to be the starter. And so like, if you're Rob, you need to take this opportunity and just learn from it, because in the season, if you're doing what they tell you to do, you will be the starter point guard and you can do it. It's just, you got to take it by the horns. I also do believe that if Bones Highland keeps playing like this, there's a real risk that if Rob can't improve, can't do what they ask, that Bones will get some playing time. And right now, when Bones Highland comes in, I see a command of the offense. I see the pace pick up. I see the guys around him feel like there's a confidence in like playing with them. And he's kind of the same player, right? Like
Mhm.
Bones and Rob. And so but when Bones comes in, I feel the veteran presence. I feel like he's not doing too much. I feel like he's working really hard. He's trying, he's playing the defensive end. He goes out and he scores. He's going to go get his. And that is what he's good at, just like Rob. And so hopefully Rob being around Bones a little bit more can learn from him. And then, I really do think that everybody's just kind of forgot about Dante DiVincenzo. I still think eventually you might see Dante being the starting point guard, and they'll go back to trying what they did last year when they had that little period where Dante DiVincenzo was the point guard before he got hurt. And you'll see Dante as the starter, Mike Conley off the bench. And then, I mean, it's just, hopefully that's not the case. But right now, Rob just isn't ready. He just isn't. And if TJ shows the playmaking, which he shows flashes of too, again, that doesn't bold too well for Rob Dillingham.
It cracks me up because you basically said almost everything I was about to say. And I mean, you cooked with it. Like, because I think with the Rob thing, going back to the point you talked about with the Chris Finch thing, there's probably some truth that when you're a young player like that and you're a high draft pick,
Yep.
maybe there's a massaging process of like, maybe don't completely change who he is as a player. You're fighting against instinct, and sometimes that leads to an identity crisis, which we're dealing with right now. He doesn't trust his instincts right now. And I think the coaching staff will need to really kind of figure out what's the best way to get to him, where, yes, you're evolving him as a player. Maybe he's still going through growing pains, because this could just be growing pains and it's like it just clicks. And you're like,
Yep.
oh, there's the 8th pick in the draft. But I do worry that, like you mentioned the Josh Minot thing. The reason why Josh Minot didn't work on the Timberwolves is he had no identity as a player, no identity. And he was trying so hard to do things they didn't need him to do. So aggressive in offense and then miss a back door on defense.
Yep.
Like Josh Minot had no idea who he is. And you don't want Rob to get under that similar issue where he doesn't know who he is. And right now he doesn't. And it's going to take time. And hopefully he gets like opportunities early in the season because they invested into him. But my point, like my take was that if we just got rid of that political stuff and the aspirations we have for him, he's not a rotation player right now. He's not. So hopefully that changes, and hopefully this is just preseason growing pains, because like we said, you can only come away with positive in the preseason and not all negative. So it's interesting. And, transitioning to what you were talking about with like Dante, Shannon, Conley, do we have one point guard we genuinely feel good about on this team this year? Because I've watched Mike Conley look slow, look attacked, not really
Yes.
give anything. And I get it. It's preseason, but that's a continuation of last postseason. And I feel really good about Shannon as a playmaker. First two games, we saw it. And Dante can play off of Ant.
Yep.
And I'm just wondering, is there a world where it's just like, you know what? Like, if all hell breaks loose, maybe there's the world where the best case scenario is this team is all wings playing basketball. I kind of wonder that a little bit. Not just because of preseason. This has been something I've been wondering all summer. But I think it's, what do you think about that?
I just want you to remember this conversation because I think anyone listening, I'm a firm believer of Dante DiVincenzo being the starting point guard on this team. I really, really like that with the Timberwolves. I think they had something last year when they put him in. And I think Dante is he's the type of player who's so fun, so ready to go, so locked in when he is, and just a difference maker when he is locked in and when he is playing at a high level. And I think Dante cares a lot more than people think about being a starter. I think he really, really cares about it. That's just the vibe I get from Dante. No matter what he says, he might not say it out loud, guys, but I really believe Dante DiVincenzo thinks he's the New York Knicks, Dante, where he's a starter, he's ready to go, he's premier. And I think him and Ant, I think they have this special bond too, where not a lot of players on the team have that bond that they do, where they just feed off each other. They have their own handshake. They dab each other up every single time one of them hits a big shot when they are on the court together. There's something about those two's relationship, and I think if you put them in the lineup together, it's like a chemistry thing. It's a fun thing for those two guys, and I think Dante gives you the shooting element. He gives you defense on that end. And I think there's something there with Dante we just haven't seen and unlocked where he just becomes an absolute demon on the court. I believe I'm all in on Dante being the point guard. I've just, at this point, this is just what we have. Love Mike Conley, but at this point in his career, he needs to be coming off the bench. And when I'm looking between Rob and Dante, there's just no debate. Like, Dante should be the starting point guard. We just don't have that many options. It's not that I wanted to be here, but this is just where we are. Unfortunately, we didn't go really out and get a point guard other than signing Bones. And so I'm just all in. I'm all in on Dante DiVincenzo, at least trying it, giving him a good run, and just being the starting point guard.
And I totally agree. If I had to pick right now, I would pick Dante for all the reasons you mentioned. And I think one story that's going to be very fascinating to navigate this year is how important the point guard position is, because the last couple of years it was important because we're seeing young players develop into their role. They need kind of someone to set the table, and that's what Mike Conley did. How important is that this year? Because if it's less important because the players grew up, then it's like, okay, then why wouldn't we just lean into all these wings, kind of like what Oklahoma City did last year? That's, I think, the step I'm very curious to see. And the Dante point, I agree. I think we even saw it before he had like his toe thing last year. He was playing very well
Yes.
before that when he got to start. So I think Dante currently has the highest ceiling of the starters are among the point guard candidates. And then we'll see throughout the season, how badly does this need, or words, how badly does this team need to add a point guard? Is that the thing that they might need to go after at the trade deadline? That's probably, if there's a roster change throughout the season and I just had to kind of forecast it before anything happened, that's the number one thing I'll be looking at as we get into the regular season. How important is it that this team adds a point guard?
And that's what you just nailed it right there. That's most likely what's going to happen at the deadline if they don't figure things out. And if it's probably going that way regardless. I mean, the whole team it's set up to make a trade. They're going to make a trade either at the trade deadline or in the offseason. And I just firmly believe that just by like what the team has currently on their roster and just the guys they've signed. They kind of have this opportunity to go swing for another player, and they got one more opportunity basically with what their roster makeup is right now. And I think they're going to be patient on it. And so I don't know if it gets done, but if a player's available, they're going to be ready to strike. That is why they have the Randle contract on what it is and why they re-signed him, so that it was a movable contract. That is why they re-signed Naz Reid on a deal, again, where it's a movable contract. Those two guys are players that could be involved in a trade later on. And Tim Conley has made it very to me, it's been very clear on how he's signed the players, the flexibility. Rudy Gobert's contract is going down every year now, so his contract becomes more valuable. Mike Conley's on an expiring deal. There's a lot of different players on the team where if you need to, you can move them. In most trades for a big time player, you need a young player with some upside on a rookie scale contract or a cheap contract, and a player around that range, where it's that $30-ish million range, where when you put the two contracts together, it's going up and getting you a good player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what Minnesota has right now is young players with high talent like Jalen Clark, like Terrence Shannon Jr., like Rob Dillingham, like Johan Berenger, Rocco, and they have these guys that are movable, and that's enticing for a team. So what you could see, which is crazy, we're even talking about this, which we should get off this topic in a second, is Rob Dillingham could be going out and you sell a team on Rob and then pair his $8 million contract or $9 million contract with a guy who's making 33 million a year, 34 million a year, and send that out in a trade package and go get a player. Who knows? But that's way too much that we dive into right now. I would love for Anthony Edwards to take the number one spot as the point guard and just lean off of all guards like you've talked about,
Yeah.
which they might be forced to eventually anyway. But for now, I know Minnesota, that Minnesota too. They want to try to run with the true point guard, or like think in their head they need this point guard position. And so that's the only reason why I'm advocating for Dante so much to be the starting point guard.
And I'm totally okay with all of the February talk that we're doing in,
It's so aggressive for no reason.
early October. And I'm okay with it because one of my toxic traits in life is I'll look 10 steps before the first one.
Yeah,
so,
like Tim Conley.
Yep. You know what? It's okay. Like, I'll be like, you know what? What's going to happen in 2031? Let's look at the 2031 draft prospects. Like, I totally respect and get that. And I think that's a good way to close the point guard position because, I think it's a lot of wait and see. Hopefully Rob figures it out.
Yep.
Hopefully Mike still has, enough heartbeats, and Dante, he plays confident. Like, what else? Shannon can pass. Who knows? So let's end the show with like the most important conversation though, because Johnny Juzang was a vibe those first two preseason games. I think he was 8 for 15 from 3 those first two preseason games, or was it 9 for 15? Because he had 6 the second game and 3 the first one. So he made 9 threes his first two games. I mean, Target Center went crazy. Like, we had MVP chants in Target Center, all for my dad, who was like 6 beers in. But we had it was fun watching him thrive. So what was your take?
If there's a player, if there's an example of a guy that is going out there and was off everybody's radar, including the coaching staff, basically, and you're watching a guy who is showing you what it takes to, by all odds, force the hand of the organization to take a flyer on him and potentially sign him onto some kind of a deal, it's Johnny Juzang through 2 games. If he continues to do this, there might be a spot on the roster. They have one more spot open. And right now I'm seeing a player that's like, how can you not sign him to something small, flexible, partial guarantee like they gave to Bones Highland, just something like that? Because, last night, 20 points was a huge reason the Timberwolves came back in that game down 24, a plus 15. He led the entire Timberwolves team last night on plus minus at a plus 15 and 6 for 8 from 3 last night. Like you said, he's electric. The way he moved on offense, I just focused on him for a while, and kind of reminds me of Steph Curry, where they just never stop moving. And if you're a defender, it's just so hard to guard because this dude just infinitely just running, getting open, getting into the line. And we don't have a lot of guys to do that. We just don't. And this guy runs so hard just for an opportunity to do that. And it reminds me too a little bit of like Malik Beasley when he played with the Wolves.
Good comp.
Comp. Just constantly running. Didn't really do much else, but just over and over. And this is when Beasley was a little bit less developed than he is now, I would say. So I kind of felt those things. He has such a great shot, and they don't really have a lot of guys on their team that can just shoot it like that on fire from 3. And right now, what I'm seeing from Juzang is an elite 3-point shooter who, if he goes out there, he's not going to do anything else for you, really. Doesn't have playmaking really at all from what I'm seeing. Can't handle the ball, really. Neither can Malik Beasley. not really, doesn't really have any other thing in his game, I would say. So if you need a guy who can just go out there, spread the floor, and get people, open the floor up for other guys, I think that's valuable. I think it's valuable in the league. I mean, look at like Sam Hausner for the Celtics and what he does. Um, Duncan Robinson, players all over the NBA who have made a living doing just all they do is shoot. They don't do anything else. And so, and for the playoffs, that's huge. Even if you have them coming in for a certain stint or a certain game, it just changes the whole way teams have to defend you because they cannot leave him. They cannot leave him be. And I think he just shows you that if he came in and let's say he played 6 minutes one night, 6 or 7 minutes, but he's coming in and he's shooting the ball 4 times in 6 minutes and he's going 2 for 4 from three, and then he just checks out of the game. He gets you that's a 6-point swing in just a couple minutes. It's insane. And yeah, that's just what I saw. It's been fun watching him. I don't know if they're gonna. I still think the Timberwolves want to keep that spot open for flexibility, but I thought I would never be saying this, but this player looks like he's making a case. At least he's making a case right now that if you're not gonna sign me, I'm gonna make you sign me.
And this is the luxury of being a good basketball team because players like this will fight to be on your basketball team. He was a great college player, and he was also somebody who signed a 4-year contract in Utah. It wasn't fully guaranteed, I believe, but that's still significant for a guy at his position. That's a pretty overqualified player fighting for a roster spot. And like you said, like the shooting is fantastic, and I love the Sam Hauser comp.
Yep.
I think he probably needs to get to that like 43% from three range to really be a cemented NBA player because Utah was a bad defense last year, but they were really bad. And he was
And he's
like
bad at
100.
defense too.
Yeah, we even
Johnny
saw
is
it.
not great. He's not great.
Slow footed on defense. And I mean, he had like 123 defensive rating last year. So not a perfect player, but like you said, there's some Malik Beasley there. I even think there's a little bit of Matt Ryan there, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So maybe at this point, just to make everything be fully manifested, maybe we'll draft a quarterback named Johnny Juzang too, and everything will be flipped all over.
There you go.
But yeah, I think it was fun. Yeah, I mean, at this point of the preseason, when you can have your 14th and 15th men just like nail shots, I think that's a testament to where the team is because we were dealing with no disrespect, but like a Travion Graham type archetype fighting for that last roster spot. So this, I think, is a decent little underrated story.
Mhm. Yeah, he looked like an NBA player out there compared to the other guys when he was playing with those last, end of roster guys for the training camp roster here. And he stuck out. He just looks like you said, he's played for the Jazz, so he has played in the NBA, played like 60 something games last year for them. But he looks the part like an NBA player. And um again, just having those 2 games, especially yet the other night against Indiana when they're down that much, I think it almost sends talks more about how he is as a player, his confidence, his craft, everything he's done because he had to kind of lead that comeback with the other guys. And I think that's big for what the coaching staff saw is a player that came in, it didn't matter if they were down, he gave it his absolute all. And that's again the whole theme of our conversation today. It should be Chris Finch, what he cares about. He cares about guys going out and not making mistakes, doing something whatever they ask you to do, you do it at an elite level, and that's all they care about. And
Mhm.
that's why they asked Jalen Clark to go do this, and he does it. And why they've asked Terrence to go do this, and he does it. And Nikhil when he was here. And if all they ask him to do is, I want you to run the floor hard, and I want you to get open from three. That is it. Go shoot the hell out of the ball. Go shoot your threes. Go give us some good minutes. Run the hell out of the floor and get open. That's it. Go in transition. And if he does those things and spreads the floor, goes to the corners, that is what Chris Finch and the staff cares about. That is solely what they care about. They care about players that do their role and they don't overthink it and do too much, right?
Mhm. I love that you made that the theme of this show today
Hmm.
because that is so true. And I
Hmm.
think going back to our conversation, like for Rob Dillingham to really like fit on this team, Minnesota has their superstar. They have their 3 all-star, all NBA players on the team. Play your role, play it well, play intentional. Don't possess, a maintenance that goes beyond that when you're going to be behind the three main players on the team.
Mhm.
That is perfectly articulated. And Evan, I've had you on the show for a little over an hour now. You've given me so much time. You're so fantastic at what you do. I just love following every part of the Daily Wolves and the community you guys are building. Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And anybody who's still listening an hour later, and the sickos, the diehards like us, the things I got brewing coming up for you guys in the next couple weeks here. It could happen anytime. I got a couple different video edits that I've worked on. I got a Kevin Garnett edit, which is super fun. That should be coming out. But just some fun video edits, some fun stuff, but some giveaways coming up here. And just, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to give fans another, coverage and keep doing what you're doing here with the podcast. And we're all in the same game here, trying to provide our analysis, the fandom, and bring it to you guys. Something that we hope fans grow up today from young, or fans like us that are older now. We can all come together, and it's been just so long until the Timberwolves have been so good. Now that they're good and we're here, just got to come together, man. Enjoy the times.
I don't like that you just called me old. That's crazy. But yeah, and of course,
I don't think we're old, but like, I don't think we're old, but like, people would look at us younger and be like, "You're old," and now I'm like, "Oh, my ego's taking a hit." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not in college anymore. I'm not in high school anymore." So,
I did an audition for Best Buy last week, and they made me be a dad. I was a dad.
oh no, oh
That
no.
that completely wrecked any ego I have. I was like, I am not that old. I am not cooked. And you know what? To all the dads on the show, we love you. We love you. I'm 22, so I'm still like digesting the phase in life I'm in right now. We love all the dads on the show. This is Hall of Fame mode fandom. Everybody who's joined the show recently, all those who've been there since the beginning, thank you all so much for being a part of this community. It's been an honor to continue working on this as we get into the season. I'm so greatly appreciative of all the fantastic engagement, the growth that's occurred, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. If you haven't subscribed to Wilder Wolves podcast yet, I would sincerely appreciate if you do. We're going to continue working toward the best content we can for this amazing Timberwolves community. Evan, thank you so much for being on today's show. This is the Wilder Wolves Hall of Fame Mode Fandom.